Hi, and welcome to Rave Leader Chat, week number 2 for our discussion on confronting Jesus. Hope you got off to a good start. Thanks again for your continued leadership. I know the weather has been a challenge for some of the groups, but I rejoice in getting back at it and been able to talk to the first couple groups, and sounds like things have gone well. This second chapter is Jesus the Son, and it not only describes a little bit about who Jesus is, but it really sort of talks, the larger theme of this chapter really is how do they describe Jesus? And sort of the operative metaphor at the beginning is why isn't he just introduced and everything's plain and simple? And the answer is that he is, we are told about the things about him and we are shown about him more than making it just this is Jesus, the Son of God. And so that really breaks into like two categories. First is where do they start? And so she does a good job of walking through how Matthew and Luke start with their birth narratives, talking about the divine nature of Christ from birth. Then they ask the question, well, can we trust the birth narratives if they don't appear in Mark and John? And then she does a really good job of helping us understand how Jesus is introduced in the book of Mark. And really, if you want to expand on that, if you look at verse 1, it says, "This is the good news." And then there's a John the Baptist interlude about this greater one coming. And then introduced in verse 9 is Jesus of Nazareth. So you've got a different fanfare opening, an expectation of the best news ever. And then who's the main character? It's Jesus that is introduced. And then we turn to John, and we really get a picture of the cosmic Christ. From the very beginning, he is the Word who was with God and is God, and through whom all things are made. And so she reminds us of taking sort of John takes these two strands, this Jewish strand of creation and this Greek understanding of logos, represented here as the Word, and tying them together. Great quote on the implications of the cosmic Christ on page 47. That if it's true, then he knows us. He knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows us better than, I think she uses the expression that better than an artist knows their painting, or a playwright or an author knows her imaginary world. And so then it segues into a question we hear all the time. And again, both these sort of topics stem from why doesn't he just come out and say it? And so the question is, did he actually claim? Yes, that's what the Gospels say about that Jesus is the unique Son of God and fully human. But did he really claim it? And so she goes back to that. How is it shown? How are we told? And she really hits on several different topics. First, she hits on him forgiving sin and then healing to show that he actually has the power to do both. She focuses us on the stilling of the sea and reminds us that he has command over all creation. That only makes sense if he's the one who made it. Who else has that kind of power? Who has the biblical power to forgive sin? Who has the power to command creation? Then she turns to, in a little bit of a segue, to the rich young ruler, and for Jesus saying, no, you need to give me all. I want complete allegiance. I want everything, not just the side gifts or partial efforts. I want your heart. And she really poses the question, who has the right to ask for everything except for the God who gave everything? Who has the right to claim and desire our ultimate allegiance? Only the one who made us, who fashioned us in his image, who's redeemed us and restored us. Then she turns to the Jesus applying the I am statements. And although that's oftentimes lost on modern readers and English speakers, if you were a first century Jew, that would be unmistakable for that name, I am. Yahweh basically is applied to Jesus, and Jesus applies to himself 7 different times. It's not a mistake. It's not a one-off. It is a very intentional saying, I am. And in some of those things, he's saying, I am the light of the world. In the beginning, God said, let there be light, and I'm him. I don't bring wisdom and bright and share brightness. I am the source of light. And then she turns to the unique claim of Christ in John chapter 14, that he is the way, the truth, and the life. he's the only path to God, is what he's saying. And she does a great job of helping us quickly unpack that. And then her final sort of proof for did he claim to do this is that if all these other things are true, then death would not be the end. And she points us to consider the resurrection, particularly through doubting Thomas. And she wants to give us space and wants to give non-believers space to wrestle with that unbelief, but gets back to the unequivocal statement of Scripture that he is exactly who they say he is. And then she ends the chapter with a so what. The questions really sort of in the study guide sort of outline these little points that I've made, and I think it's a great conversation. I hope that this study has been a good one for you guys, just to have general conversation, maybe to renew your understanding about who Jesus is, but also to think critically about some of the critiques that the secular world has about who Jesus is, about Scripture, and even about our faith. Why did the Gospels start at different places to introduce? Why don't they tell us more clearly? Did he actually claim this to be true? And so I think this chapter does a great job of getting us to think about those things. Thanks so much again for your leadership. Hope you're blessed by this study and the reunion of your groups. Take care, and thank you for continuing to guide the saints in well-rounded discipleship.